Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. Liverpool return to Premier League action this evening with a 0-0 draw at Goodison Park. And truth be told, it was rubbish. It was just... It's not the same, isn't it? And I think we should get that out of the way, and that's going to be a recurring theme for the remaining 8 games of the campaign. This is not going to be the free-flowing, beautiful, all-conquering Liverpool that we were treated to for the first 29 games of the Premier League season. And thankfully, the Reds were so brilliant in those first 29 games that we don't really need to worry about that. There's plenty of other teams in the Premier League who are worried about how lack of rhythm is going to affect the relegation battle, the fight for Europa League spots, the fight for Champions League spots, the FA Cup and stuff like that. For us, hopefully, it doesn't become an issue, because while Liverpool weren't brilliant today, they didn't look like they were going to throw the title away by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, the game ends 0-0. It's on as even between the two sides, but we still, it certainly looked like we were a step ahead of Everton. There were vast swathes of the game where we dominated the ball, we passed it very well, we showed intent as well. It's just once we got into the final third, and especially into that 18-yard box, things didn't quite click, and Everton managed to crowd the ball out and cause us a lot of problems. And a lot of that was down to the fact that they played very defensive as well. A lot of it's down to fitness issues, not just in terms of player sharpness, but the way we had to make a lot of substitutions. The total lack of Mohamed Salah as well was a problem. I think a lot of us were really relying on him in the last 20-25 minutes, being able to come on and use his pace to just slaughter what would have been some very tired legs in the Everton defence. But unfortunately, with the way things went, we had to use up some substitutions a little bit earlier on than expected because of injuries. And I think Jurgen Klopp was maybe a little bit reluctant to use Mohamed Salah when he knows that at the end of the day, as much as we want the title wrapped up as soon as possible, and believe you me, I want it as much as anyone else does. I want to see this thing done. I want to be able to celebrate it as soon as we possibly can. But there's no point taking stupid risks. There's no point bringing on Mohamed Salah if there's a risk of him getting injured and we're looking like we're cruising to what would be a fairly decent point. Goodison Park has never been a great place for Liverpool, and with what is now a 23-point lead over Manchester City, who's really fussed? I think it looks like we're going to win the league. I know I voiced a few tiny doubts in the pre-match video about how, you know, if things start to derail early on, then doubts could start to creep in, and it could become a whole narrative about the potential of Liverpool throwing it away as a result of the lost momentum that came out because of the lockdown and the 3-month break and everything like that. But it looked like Liverpool had a lot of control over things. It certainly looked like mentally they didn't have any issues. They weren't struggling. Mentally, they were as sharp as they've ever been. I think it didn't look like they were making too many mistakes. It looked like they always knew how to manage the match. Maybe for the first 20-25 minutes or so before that first drinks break, yet it was incredibly scrappy. Absolutely no one was getting a foothold in the game, and it was a complete mess, to be perfectly honest. But once that subsided and the Reds began to find their feet, and Jurgen Klopp had a word with the players as well about what to do and when to do it and stuff like that, and how to take more control of the game, we just ran the show all the way up until about the 80th minute, to be honest. The possession stats showed that as well. There was a point late on in the second half where it showed that we'd had 67% possession, which is berserk, to be honest. You just don't see that in normal games of football, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that Everton didn't quite have the energy to press and stuff like that. But we kept the ball very well, especially considering how scrappy it was in the early stages. There was a lot of hit and hope passing, just launching it forward to try and get it to someone who was in a relatively dangerous position. But gradually we found a way to kind of move the ball around a bit more intelligently, work the spaces, make Everton work for it, make them chase after the ball and conserve our energy a little bit. And I thought, you know, despite the fact the result wasn't great, I was still relatively pleased with the performance. It's hard to ask for much more from the lads when they have come back from this ridiculously long break as well, and it is very much exceptional circumstances. Of course, you got that last 10 minutes where Everton had a little bit of a flurry of chances. That wasn't really a surprise, to be honest, because that has tended to be their modus operandi in Merseyside derbies recently, is to get to 80 minutes and, you know, if they're 5-2 down, then forget it, it's a loss. But if they're still in the game, if it's only a 1-goal lead for Liverpool, or even if it's a draw or something like that, they tend to go for it. They tend to go for the throat and just try and nick a goal that would get them a result, because they're in that position now where, you know, almost 10 years since their last win in the Merseyside derby, draws and losses are completely par for the course. So they may as well just almost chance their arm and see what happens, and get to those late stages where they might just nick a point and get what would be obviously a very famous victory for them. So it was no surprise the way they tried to play it, and with that late flurry, there were a few heart in mouth moments for me, and I'm sure plenty of you at home as well, with those chances that Everton had. The Tom Davies one where he hits the post, the one that Calvin Lewin balloons over the bar. I think maybe if Everton had been a little bit sharper, if they had full match fitness, then maybe they would have put one of those chances away. But of course, if Liverpool have had full match fitness, then they might have ended up winning the game 3-0. I think in terms of individual performances, the players that really shone out for me, I thought Naby Keita was absolutely fantastic. You know, we've heard an awful lot about him in the run-up to the restart, a lot about him in training and in friendlies and stuff like that, how he's really gelling with the side, coming into his own, finally showing the traits that we all knew he had and we were desperate to see from him when he first arrived at Liverpool, and even before that, when we had that whole year after we'd agreed the deal and we knew he was coming, but he wasn't able to arrive yet and stuff like that. But I thought today he really shined. You know, his control on the ball, his strength as well seemed to improve. There was a moment where he had his back to the Everton half and he's running away from it and he gets a huge shove in the back, and you know, he could have quite easily gone down. I'm sure if the exact same thing had happened a year ago, he probably would have done, but he stays strong, he stays on his feet, he wins the ball, he turns the defender and he runs back the other way and he gets an attack going for Liverpool, and that's really positive. That's what we've wanted to see for Naby Keita for a while, and I thought he was probably the best performer in the midfield today. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain also had flashes of brilliance when he came on, some great close control, you know, in and around the Everton defence, wins that free kick really late on, which represented our last real chance of the game, and that was very impressive as well. But I really like what I saw from Naby Keita, and you know, hopefully, you know, his fitness holds up, because that's been the only thing that's really kept on holding him back so far in his Liverpool career. And I think Jurgen Klopp was wise to take him off. I think it was around about, if I can remember rightly, the hour mark. It was when he came off for Gini Wijnaldum, the same time that Origi came on for Firmino as well, and I think that was the right call. Hopefully he'll have a part to play in the game against Crystal Palace at Anfield on Wednesday night as well, because it was a great showing from him, and hopefully this is finally the start of his Liverpool career that we have all been waiting for, because we know what he can offer. We know he's got so much to bring to this side, and he could take us up to another level, and hopefully this is the time he finally does that. I thought Minamino as well was really impressive. Obviously only gets those 45 minutes, but in that time didn't stop running, didn't stop chasing after the ball, clearly desperate to impress, clearly putting a load of work on his fitness over lockdown, and maybe that got the better of him, and that was the reason for the half-time substitution. As I said, he chased after every single lost cause, he was running after everything. It made it quite difficult to work out exactly what his role was, because he kind of started in that right-wing position. He'd obviously come in for Mohamed Salah, and Firmino stayed as the number 9, and Sadio Mane stayed as the left winger, but he was dropping into number 10, he was dropping out wide, he was coming in almost as an 8 to help out the midfield as well. And obviously that took his toll on him in terms of fitness. He was running to the ground by the end of the half. But what he did do was absolutely fantastic. And I think that's one thing that he does bring Liverpool. He's an incredibly versatile attacker. He can play in a lot of positions. And the downside of that is it's made it a little bit difficult for us to really nail down a position for him. We've seen him as the number 10. We've seen him as a number 9. We've now seen him out wide on the left, I think against Wolves back in January, and on the right today. And he's performed admirably in all of those roles, but he has yet to really stake down a position where you look at it and you think, that's his position and that's his role, and no one's taking that off of him. Hopefully that comes soon. Like I said, he had some brilliant flashes. The ball control was great. The strength still isn't quite there, which is understandable, you know, obviously, especially with the lack of match fitness. He hasn't had too many chances to build that up and to really test himself against Premier League defences and stuff like that. I think over the next 8 matches, that's going to be the main focus for him, because, like I said, the other things are there. The passing's good, the dribbling's good, the close control, everything like that. The positioning and the movement is also fantastic. He offers so much for the side. And if he can just build that strength up as well, in the same way that Firmino really has as a number 9, it's an underrated quality of his ability to hold players off, to be strong, to impose himself physically in the centre up against centre halves and stuff like that. If Minamino can add that to his game as well, then he can be a real proposition for Liverpool, and he can start to actually challenge that front 3 for at least a semi-regular berth in the starting 11. So I was impressed with what I saw from Minamino today. It was nice to see him in the starting 11, and hopefully we do see more of him as well. And as I said, Naby Keita was fantastic as well. There weren't too many players that really let us down. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold looked a little bit rusty, but to be fair to him, you know, his role is very much bombing up and down that right-hand side. It takes a hell of a lot of fitness. It takes a hell of a lot of work as well. And that's obviously not going to come naturally when he's just coming back to match fitness. And of course, with Andrew Robertson unavailable as well, that outlet wasn't available on the other side. You see a lot when both of them are playing, they do that cross-field switch, the fullback to fullback stuff. And I think that helps them to share the workload between each other, and also to get attacks going and stuff like that. That option with Milner playing at left back and then later on Joe Gomez as well just wasn't available in the same way as it usually is today. And I think Trent Alexander-Arnold suffered as a result. So it's nothing to worry about really. Again, it's never something to worry about with any of the players, to be honest. When some of them do look rusty, it's not a problem. That's entirely natural. That's going to come with the territory. And like I said at the top of the video, what's important is that Liverpool still look like a dominant force. Liverpool still look like the team that take games by the scruff of the neck. We dominated possession. We were so much better on the ball. We were running the tempo. We were controlling the game. We decided when the flurries happened. We decided when we went for the jugular and when we sat back and passed it around the back for a little bit. We were always in control, apart from those brief moments when Everton, tried to take the game by the scruff of the neck and create a few chances. But you're never going to be in control for 90 minutes. And what is important is that when you are, you make it count. Unfortunately, we didn't today, but it's hard to be too upset about it. At the end of the day, Liverpool are 23 points clear, and we've come back and we've showed that while there is a drop-off, there's nothing major to be worried about. I'm not going to sleep after this game having, nightmares about us suddenly bottling the league and throwing it away. We put in an admirable showing today, and as usual, as it has been since probably about November, to be perfectly honest, the matter of the Premier League title is very much a matter of when and not if. It looks like Liverpool are going to win it. Now it's a little bit hazy on when it's going to happen. We have, of course, got the Man City game on Monday night, tomorrow night against Burnley. Fingers crossed for a good result there, because I was really banking on that home game against Crystal Palace. I think pretty much all of us were. We saw that as being the moment when Liverpool would finally secure, mathematically, for good, their 30th Premier League title. So hopefully Burnley can get a result. But if not, we get to go again next Thursday in a game against Man City at the Etihad Stadium. And that could well be the moment when we finally secure the Premier League title. But for now, I think we should just be happy that Liverpool are back. We can complain about the fact we didn't win. We can complain about the fact that the players were rusty. We didn't have a full starting 11. Salah never got on, which was obviously a shame. We want to see our star players playing. We want to see how they are as they come back from fitness. Generally, they seemed all right. Firmino was relatively solid. Sadio Mane, while not always involved, was always a danger when he was and when he got on the ball and got into threatening positions and stuff like that. So focus on the positives. The Reds are back in your life, and they are almost definitely going to win the Premier League. So that is all for today's video. I hope you guys did enjoy it despite the slightly disappointing result. If you did enjoy the video, hit that like button down there, hit that subscribe button there as well if you're new around here. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel in the past as well. Don't forget to follow at LFCFocus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon with some pre-match content for that game against Crystal Palace. Until then, bye for now.